Ghislaine Maxwell, who knows so much about Trump and Epstein, including things as simple as the page that Trump denies exists, which she apparently got from him for that birthday book you referred to. So there's just an enormous mix of interests here, and it looks like her transfer was designed to be transactional among those interests.
That was Senator Sheldon Whitehouse doing what he does best, connecting the dots and making the case that something is rotten in the case involving Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, and Ghislaine Maxwell. But it's not just the Epstein case. Senator Whitehouse has also called out the direct link between rich oil company executives who attended a Trump Mar-a-Lago fundraiser and the fact that Trump's administration is attacking clean energy and doing the bidding of those same oil executives. It's a tale as old as time with Trump. Massive tax handouts and perks for the wealthy elite, and more economic pain and suffering for the middle class. And as Republicans in Congress try to blindly rubber stamp everything that Trump does, one of the only things standing in their way is Democrats like Senator Sheldon Whitehouse. A champion for his home state of Rhode Island, he's been serving in the Senate since 2007, and he previously served as both U.S. Attorney and as the state Attorney General. And as the top Democrat on the Senate Committee on Environment and Public Works, and a senior member of the Finance, Budget, and Judiciary Committees, Senator Whitehouse is one of the strongest Democratic voices in Congress, laying out the facts and pushing for action on climate, corruption, and so much more. Today, we're excited to have him here in studio to break it down for us. I'm Hannah Muldaven, Deputy Communications Director for the Democrats, and your host for today. This is the Democrats' Daily Blueprint. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, thank you for coming to the Daily Blueprint.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and before we jump in, I know we prepared some questions that we're going to ask you today, but I do want to address the shooting of Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
We know that he has passed away. At the DNC, Democrats condemning political violence in all forms. But I just want to turn over to you and let you address that before we begin.
Yeah, it's a very sad state of affairs. I mean, I don't think I probably agreed with him on anything, but my God, you don't shoot people over this stuff. You have your arguments and you win and you lose. So it is sad, and everybody has lots of loved ones and friends, and they're all grieving right now. And I think, we need to be very sensitive to that.
Absolutely. We're going to get into these questions that we prepared. I wanted to start with that. But for years, you've been on the record speaking out against what you call, and I love this, creepy billionaires. Now, these are these shadowy elites. They're behind these curtains, right? They're controlling things like reform to campaign finance, climate change. We had an event happen recently, the creepiest of billionaires, Donald Trump. We found his birthday card to Jeffrey Epstein. Why should Americans at home be concerned about the Trump administration, the culture of corruption, and his protection of these, what you call, creepy billionaires?
Creepy billionaires.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, for starters, boy, talk about what a perfect example of who you're going to believe, me or your lying eyes, when you actually see the page that he says didn't exist, and you see his very, very telltale signature right on the page. Yeah. And so when you see him out there lying and saying just nothing about it, that's a pretty flagrant lie. The problem with the creepy billionaires, is that they're actually still trying to rob us and to control things. There's a Springsteen song, poor man want to be rich man want to be king. So these billionaire rich people want to be king. They don't want to be accountable. They want to run things and pull strings from behind the scenes. So the capture of the Supreme Court by the creepy billionaires was a decades-long process, and now we have to deal with the Supreme Court that we have because of what they did. This rotten bill that the Republicans just passed was written to run up our debt as American citizens by $4.1 trillion.
From the party of fiscal responsibility,
from the party,
right?
Allegedly.
Yeah.
And it's so big, and the whole purpose is that they don't want their billionaires to pay taxes. I mean, do you want to have parks? Do you want to have schools? Do you want to have healthcare? Do you want to have the good things in life that people do together, the idea that the billionaires simply don't want to pay for that, well, the reason people should be concerned is because when they won't pay their share, that falls to everybody else. It's on your neck to make up that 4.1 trillion in lost services, higher taxes, or your kids having to deal with a massive national debt.
You mentioned that the one big beautiful bill, which Republicans are trying to rebrand right now. I'm going to ask you about that a little bit later. Yeah, exactly. We're not going to let them, I think. No, before you were elected into the Senate, you were in a couple of important roles: U.S. Attorney and State Attorney General for Rhode Island.
Yeah.
There are a lot of federal lawsuits that Democratic attorneys general since January 20th, since Trump came in office, have been filing and winning.
Yes.
You know, a lot of these have been blocking things like funding freezes for
Yes.
things that people like you, members of Congress, have already passed and approved.
Yeah.
You're a lawyer. Tell
Yeah.
us what this means. How big are these legal fights? We don't hear about them as much in the day-to-day news, but tell us a little bit about some of these legal fights and what you think of them.
Yeah, I mean, these are really important. They're probably, north of 200 of these legal fights going on. And the press pays attention to what's going on in the Supreme Court, which is probably the most problematic area of the judiciary right now. But elsewhere are regular federal judges in regular federal courtrooms over and over again holding in favor of the people who are challenging Trump lawbreaking. And not only are they holding in favor of those people, they are using terms like obstruction, malfeasance, misleading. I mean, it's rough language from federal courts about a political administration. So there's a lot of winning happening among federal judges. And as the judges see these other cases and, hear each other describing what's going on, I think that bulwark is actually making itself stronger. Yeah. I think if you're a judge that has to call an administration argument one that is made in bad faith, or that is a pretext for a real motive that hasn't been disclosed in the courtroom, you're going to be a little bit hesitant about that because that's such strong language. But if it's happening everywhere and you're seeing other judges saying the same thing about bad faith pretextual actions, then, there's some strength in everybody seeing the same thing and responding to it the same way. So what the attorneys general have done, what groups like Democracy Forward have done, really has been significant. It's been a lot of winning, and there's more to come.
I love it. Now, as you know, Rhode Island is the ocean state, and it's shown national leadership when it comes to things like offshore wind power, EV charging stations. Recently, the Trump administration issued a stop work order for a wind farm off the coast of Block Island. Now, electricity costs are going up. We all know it. We feel it. And actually, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, actually twice as fast as inflation. Those prices are going up. So what should people at home know about why clean energy is good for lowering electricity prices and why it makes no sense that the Trump administration, or maybe why the Trump administration is attacking renewable energy sources?
Well, first, I've got to say that the stop work order was just flamingly illegal. And our Attorney General and the Connecticut Attorney General are in federal court in Rhode Island, and I think they will be upheld quickly. And the developer of the wind farm is in district court here in the District of Columbia, and I think they'll have good luck. Among their arguments is that the federal regulator who claims to have grounds to shut down this project was defending the project against other litigants on the exact topics that they now claim are the reason to shut it down. So it's almost like you kind of, I love being a senator, but boy, it'd be kind of fun to be a lawyer in a case like that. So there's that going on. Then behind that, this whole operation is pure corrupt payback to the fossil fuel industry. He said, give me $1 billion and I'll give you everything you want. He got hundreds of millions of dollars, and now he's just giving them everything that they want. And what they're trying to lie their way through is that this is going to increase people's utility bills, and we're going to be able to prove it. And I could go through a long exposition, because I used to do this stuff, about exactly how it is that it raises electricity bills.
Yeah.
But frankly, the bottom line is that if you have got energy that's fueled by free sources like the wind, and the sun, when it comes onto the grid, it's almost never the highest priced producer of power on the grid.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I don't know any of the background.
Yeah.
That makes absolute
Yeah.
sense to me.
And it's the
Logical sense.
highest priced producer that sets the price for every electron that's bought
Yeah.
until a higher priced producer comes online. So when you pull clean energy out of the grid, you have to put more fossil fuel energy into the grid, and that sets an increasingly higher and higher and higher price. And the Trump people don't care because they think that we won't notice that they were behind raising the electric bills so that more money went to the fossil fuel polluters out of our pockets. They think we'll blame it on the electric utility because that's who sent the bill.
Yeah.
So it's our job to make sure that people see through that to
Yeah.
why it happened. And I think we can do that readily.
Well, and speaking of talking about this, you've given over 300 floor speeches on fighting climate change.
Yep.
One of the things that you explained in a video with Senator Heinrich, your colleague, is about how Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill that Republicans pushed through Congress, that Trump signed into law, benefits fossil fuel companies and punishes renewable energy. And you just explained to us why that's a problem. What concerns you the most when you're thinking about climate change, when you're thinking about the Trump administration Republicans taking us back?
Yep.
What should we be concerned about and what should we be talking about?
Yeah. Two big things we should be concerned about. The first is corruption. I think every American wants to believe that they have a government that is not corrupt and that although it may be awkward from time to time and we may make mistakes, we're basically not for sale.
Yeah.
The Trump administration has already sold itself to the fossil fuel industry and is doing the bidding of this fossil fuel industry in probably one of the worst examples of corruption in American history. So corruption is key.
Yeah.
The other thing that's key is that climate change is coming for your wallet. We've been talking about, polar bears and green jobs and all that kind of stuff. But what's happening is that climate change is disrupting weather systems, which makes insurers have a really hard time predicting when bad weather is going to cause insurance claims or wildfires are going to cause insurance
And
claims.
from California, we have the
Bingo.
wildfire huge
Exactly.
problem.
So you see insurers raising costs dramatically. You see them pulling completely out of dangerous regions where they don't offer insurance any longer.
Yep.
When you can't get insurance, what else can you not get? You can't get a mortgage. Or if you already have a mortgage, they can go get insurance for themselves and charge it to you, adding hundreds of dollars a month. So you've got this insurance to mortgage, and then what happens if your property won't sustain a mortgage any longer? Who can buy it? So its value crashes.
Yeah.
So you have this crash from climate-driven weather change to insurance risk, to mortgage collapse, to property values falling, to ultimately what the chief economist for the big mortgage giant Freddie Mac called a property values crash that cascades out into the economy like the 2008 mortgage meltdown. That looks increasingly likely to happen, and we need to make sure that when that happens, everybody knows exactly who's responsible. And it's fossil fuel, and it's climate denial fraud operation, and it's the Republicans who are paid money not to call them on it.
You're really good at explaining things. And that's why you're here with us on this show, where we try to kind of break down some of this fancier talk and just explain things, but in a way that is easy to understand and doesn't treat people like they're stupid, which we're not. We get it. These concepts, we just need to start talking about them. Now, on the show, we talk about holding Donald Trump and Republicans accountable, but also about what Democrats stand for and how we're fighting back. What would you say to somebody watching who says, okay, well, what do Democrats stand for? What are you fighting for?
I would say that the top thing right now is to get the corruption out of government. The Trump administration, as I mentioned, is neck deep in corruption for fossil fuel. The Trump family is neck deep in corruption with the crypto kids.
They're making a lot of money.
They're making a lot of money. And a lot of people are getting screwed because of that corruption. I've got probably 800 union workers who last week putting on their belts and their gear, getting ready to go out and do really cool work, installing wind turbines offshore.
Yeah.
I mean, how cool is that?
That sounds scary. I don't know.
It probably is a little bit scary, but it's also pretty,
That's
fabulous
cool,
stuff.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's really well paid, and
Yeah.
there are a lot of professionals in it. And out of the clear blue sky to no place comes an order saying, nope, you're not getting any work today. We're shutting the whole thing down. No warning, no explanation, no justification. And for those families, they're paying a real price in worry and fear and lost revenue because of that corruption. So I think we've got to stand really, really hard against corruption. I think the tax code is corrupted in favor of billionaires. I think our energy policy is corrupted in favor of fossil fuel. I think if people believe that the government is corrupt and that they're not getting listened to, they're going to be angry.
Yeah.
And in their anger, they might turn to a fraud like Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So it's really important, I think, for Democrats to cause people to have trust again in government, to bring down the temperature and to produce results in a fair tax code, fair energy policy, healthcare for all of the things that we can offer if we can rebalance the system away from the creepy billionaires.
Creepy billionaires. I know. I'm going to say that all the time now. The last question that we have for you, maybe the most important. Here at the Daily Blueprint, we hear about fashion. And I follow this men's fashion journalist on Twitter. He's a big deal.
Yeah.
In March, he said that you were one of the sharpest dressers on Capitol Hill. I might have put on a blazer for you. We're usually a little more casual here. Walk us through how you pull off this classic American tailoring in your suits, and maybe how you can help some of your colleagues on Capitol Hill. Give them a few tips.
Well, first of all, one of the other people that he recognized was Bernie Sanders. So you got to take the whole award with a pretty big grain of salt in the first place. Maybe it was the mittens. I don't know. Could have been the mittens. I just wear pretty old clothes, and if I like them, I keep them for a long time. So I think there's been a process of, natural selection that has taken
You're
place.
authentic to yourself.
And I'm happy with the way I wear clothes.
Fantastic. That insight, that is what we're talking about here.
They did like button-down collars, for whatever that's worth. I don't know that that's a particularly big deal, but they did mention button-down collars, so there we go.
Noted.
Button-down collars.
Senator Sheldon Whitehouse from Rhode Island, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you to Senator Sheldon Whitehouse for joining us in studio today. Now, this November, there are thousands of races where voters will go to the polls and elect their representatives at the state, county, and municipal level. Up and down the ballot, Democrats are running on affordability and offering new ideas to bring down the cost of living. Now, here at the Daily Blueprint, we're highlighting Democratic candidates who are fighting for working families and who need your support. We're highlighting 60 candidates in 60 days, and today's candidate spotlight is Ghazala Hashmi, the Democratic nominee for lieutenant governor in Virginia. Senator Hashmi is a trailblazer in the Virginia Senate who has dedicated her career to improving the lives of others. She's particularly focused on core issues like affordable housing, quality education, healthcare, and much more. Virginians deserve an experienced educator and advocate in the lieutenant governor's office. So to make calls, knock doors, and volunteer with the Hashmi campaign, go to ghazalaforvirginia.com. You can also find the link in our video description below. That does it for today's episode of the Daily Blueprint. We'll be here right with you every weekday at 10 a.m. Eastern on the DNC's YouTube page. Until next time.